In every war, soldiers learn to fight the enemy. They master tactics, weapons, and strategies, preparing themselves for threats they can see and predict. But what if the most relentless enemy isn't visible at all? What if it's a silent opponent that every single soldier carries with them every step of the way? For many soldiers, the most dangerous adversary isn't on the battlefield. It's inside their own body. Their own body heat can turn into a weapon used against them. So how do they fight a war where the enemy is themselves? The battle begins with heat. The human body is a biological furnace. Simply staying alive, breathing, thinking, moving produces heat. But for a soldier, that internal furnace is pushed far beyond normal limits. Military personnel train and operate at extreme physical intensity. Every march, every drill, every mission forces the body to work at full throttle for hours at a time. This level of exertion generates enormous amounts of metabolic heat, similar to an engine running at maximum capacity without rest. While a civilian might sweat heavily during a workout, a trained and acclimatized soldier can lose between 1.5 and 3 liters of sweat every single hour. That relentless heat production drives the body's core temperature upward, triggering a desperate biological response to cool down before reaching a critical point. Sweat becomes the body's last line of defense, but that's only the beginning of the problem. The real danger appears when you add the second unavoidable reality of a soldier's life: their gear. Modern soldiers operate wearing 60, 80, or even 100 pounds of equipment. Body armor, helmets, weapons, and packed rucksacks are essential for survival, but they come with a serious cost. This gear forms a thick, insulating shell around the body, trapping heat and severely limiting the body's ability to cool itself. The very armor designed to save a soldier's life also prevents sweat from evaporating, stripping it of its cooling power. The body becomes a furnace locked inside a pressure cooker. Sweat pours out in massive quantities, soaking uniforms and gear, but with nowhere to go. Instead of cooling the skin, it simply accumulates. In hot, humid environments where the air is already saturated with moisture, the situation becomes even more dangerous. The body continues sweating, but gains almost no relief. This state, known as uncompensated heat stress, is when the body's cooling systems are overwhelmed and core temperature begins to rise uncontrollably. The consequences are severe and well documented. Heat illness remains one of the most common medical issues affecting active duty service members. Between 2020 and 2024, thousands of cases were reported, including 230 cases of heat exhaustion in 2024 alone. After several years of decline, the rate of the most dangerous condition, heat stroke, increased by more than 16% in a single year. Among new recruits, the risk is even higher, with heat stroke rates more than 3 times greater than those seen in experienced enlisted personnel. Before the body fully adapts to military demands, soldiers are especially vulnerable. This isn't just about discomfort or fatigue. Heat illness exists on a deadly spectrum. It often begins with heat exhaustion symptoms like nausea, dizziness, headaches, and overwhelming weakness. If the body cannot cool down quickly, it can escalate into exertional heat stroke. At this point, core body temperature rises above 104 degrees Fahrenheit and the central nervous system begins to fail. Confusion, slurred speech, seizures, coma, and death can follow rapidly. In 2233, this danger became tragically real when a National Guardsman collapsed and died from suspected heat injuries following a fitness test. The data makes one thing clear: this threat is constant. The Army and Marine Corps consistently report the highest rates of heat illness, largely due to their demanding training schedules and operations in extreme climates. As global temperatures continue to rise, this silent enemy is only becoming stronger. To survive this battle, the military has been forced to adapt. Over decades, it has built a layered defense system combining human physiology, medical science, and advanced technology. The first line of defense is the body itself, through a process known as heat acclimatization. Over 1 to 2 weeks of controlled exposure to heat and physical exertion, the body undergoes remarkable changes. Sweat production increases by up to 20%. Sweat begins earlier at lower core temperatures, and electrolyte loss decreases as sweat becomes less salty. The body essentially upgrades itself into a more efficient cooling machine. But acclimatization has limits, especially when soldiers are encased in heavy armor. That's where simple yet powerful cooling strategies become critical. One of the most effective techniques is forearm immersion cooling. By placing the forearms into ice-cold water, heat is rapidly pulled from the blood flowing through the dense network of vessels near the skin. That cooled blood then circulates back to the core, functioning like an internal radiator. Studies show this method can significantly reduce core body temperature in a short time, buying precious minutes before heat injury sets in. In emergency situations, medics rely on aggressive cooling methods to save lives. While full-body ice baths are the gold standard, they aren't always practical in the field. Instead, soldiers suffering from heat illness are wrapped in sheets soaked in ice water, which are replaced frequently to prevent heat buildup. This cool first, treat second approach has proven to be one of the most effective life-saving interventions available. Technology is also reshaping the fight. The military now uses wearable monitoring systems designed to detect heat stress before it becomes catastrophic. Devices like the Heat Injury Prevention System track heart rate, skin temperature, and movement patterns to estimate a soldier's core temperature in real time. Visual alerts warn soldiers and leaders when heat risk is rising, allowing them to rest, hydrate, and cool down before reaching a dangerous threshold. Even body armor itself is evolving. New designs incorporate advanced fabrics, phase change materials, and microventilation channels that help absorb, move, and release heat more efficiently. Some systems integrate circulating water bladders that act like personal cooling units, pulling heat away from the body and dispersing it outward. All of this is governed by strict environmental protocols. Commanders rely on measurements like the wet bulb globe temperature, which accounts for heat, humidity, wind, and solar radiation to assess real-world risk. Based on these readings, mandatory work to rest cycles and hydration limits are enforced. Soldiers are trained to hydrate strategically, balancing fluid intake to prevent both dehydration and the equally dangerous condition of overhydration. This complex system of biology, discipline, technology, and strategy is what keeps soldiers alive and operational. It protects them from a threat as constant as their own heartbeat. The war against heat is never truly won. It's a daily battle fought silently inside the body of every soldier who steps into extreme conditions. For those who wear the uniform, the body is both their greatest weapon and their greatest vulnerability. But through knowledge, preparation, and relentless innovation, soldiers are learning how to fight back. From something as simple as ice water to advanced wearable sensors, these defenses are the unseen guardians that allow them to push beyond normal human limits, endure the unbearable, and complete the mission.